On this episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show, we talk about our best advice on how you can find a mentor to help yourself grow. The Ask Mike Reinold Show. Helping people feel better, move better, and perform better. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show. We're up in Boston at Champion PT Performance. Mike Scaduto, Dan Pope, Dave Tilley.
It's really close to my eye.
That's why I paused. I was like, I almost killed Dave. Lenny Macrina, we are here answering all your amazing questions. You guys are the best. I'm still amazed at all the awesome questions that we're getting. We get so many. I mean, we can't get to them all. We apologize, but keep sending them in. There's there's a lot of recurring themes too that we see, so we're gonna start hitting those a little bit more. But anyway, another great episode. Our three amigos, our three awesome students that we have here. So let's. I don't even know. Do we have like a set order we're gonna do? Let's give K-Bomb some credit. We'll go first.
K-Bomb's a senior student, right? He's been here the longest.
Senior student, Andrew K-Bomb Kirschbaum from Oakland University. See how everybody wears their shirts on podcast day? That helps me. That helps me so much, though. Yeah. He's from Oakland University, which has nothing to do with California. Patagonia. We have Adam Pizzow. That's it. Again, we're just gonna pause after that. Pizzow from New York.
Monty Python.
The New York Institute of Technology, who's branched out into physical therapy. And then we have Brian Winkler from
Patagonia University.
From you definitely have Delaware.
Yeah, I do.
Representing Delaware.
That's your pocket.
Awesome.
Research deep.
Who's up first? Winks?
Yeah.
What do we got today?
All right, Tyler from Maryland. Hey, love the podcast and thank you again for all the great neurobiomechanical information advice.
T-shirts are coming.
Currently, I am changing career paths and moving to a new city state.
Me too.
My passion is in the sports ortho side of PT. However, the new area is highly influenced by the corporate franchise PT model. On one episode, you made it a point to find other mentors whose interest and passion is similar to yours. As a four-year PT who is heavily invested in the strength conditioning side of treatment, what is your advice for finding a good mentor and job fit? Thanks in advance.
You're welcome in advance before we even answer it.
Wow.
Well, how about that?
Do we have to answer
You're
it?
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right,
Better
great
deliver.
episode. No, I thought that was a great question. I think that's a good one for like one of these one question episodes where you can elaborate a little bit. So there's a couple of good things. Essentially is, what we want to know is like, so what are some tips on finding a mentor? Which I know we've covered every now and then, but let's like kind of consolidate that a little bit. But what I liked especially about this is what's his name again? Tyler. So Tyler is moving from one location to another. So it's like a new geography for him, which is a potential opportunity, right? Because he doesn't know the landscape, he doesn't know kind of the groups, so he has that. And two is he has like interest in sports and strength and conditioning. So, based on that, he wants to find ways to mentor himself. So why don't we start at the beginning and say he's moving, right? So he needs to find a good clinic. What's your best advice for finding a job that has good mentorship? How do you find that job? And then we can talk about some outside stuff, but let's start with that because that's his big thing. He's moving. What are the best ways to find mentorship? What do you think?
Start off, I kind of did this. I did my own interview process.
Nice.
Interviewed the clinics. So I've reached out to all my networks to see if there are any good places that people recommended, but then I just started looking at all the physical therapy places around my geography, and especially the places we're hiring. And I just went in and I talked to the clinicians, I went and I shadowed, and I also looked at different certifications, what kind of stuff was online about these folks, and then I kind of determined which place I liked the best. That worked out really well in a variety of ways. For one, I found a place that I like to work at, and I found really good mentors there. They also learned about me, and eventually I ended up getting a job, even though they weren't even hiring at the place that I liked the most.
So you were a physical therapist when you did that. You didn't like do that in school.
Well, that was my first job, so I had just finished up my boards and I was trying to find a job. So yeah.
Because I think that's actually a great thing for a late student to do too. That's looking for it is like, look, if you know you're going to go to an area, like scope it out a little bit and go check it out. What I wouldn't do, and I'm pretty sure Dan didn't do this, I don't think you'd go in there guns blazing, kind of saying like, I want to see if you guys are worthy enough for me. And you know, I know Dan didn't do that, but I guarantee you that happens. We've come across some people that would.
I did a residency.
They would definitely act that way, and I think you got to be careful of that. But like, go in there with the approach of like, hey, I'm new to the area. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to find like-minded people. If they immediately are cold to you, then that probably means they're not very open-minded and very critical thinking and learners themselves, right? Because you should welcome some young person to come in and to collaborate and talk. So I like that, Dan. What else?
Yeah, I think you said it initially, you kind of blew past it, but I think he's a 4-year PT, so he has connections. He's got people in the industry that he probably trusts already, and so I think those people need to help him kind of then network, like you said. But I think using your little internal network, I mean, we always say this, when you're a PT and you're a PT student, you're going through PT school and finding your rotations. The most important thing when you're going through your rotations and that whole process is creating your network, going to meetings and listening to people speak and introducing yourself and getting to know, get that small network going, because of these situations where you may have to move for a circumstance you weren't, anticipating, and that network is going to be valuable. I have a network that Mike and I grew up together, so that network started with Mike, and then it went to Kevin Wilk in Birmingham, and it's just grown to Bob Mangine and George Davies, and I have some people that I can, really go to and help me out with things if I needed it, and I know they would help me. So you got that network, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, use that. I like that. Good.
I would say my advice is, this is kind of what I've concluded is the 2 big things that I give students that ask us, and I did this poorly once, so I learned the lesson, and I think when I now look for new people to connect with, it helps. But I think the biggest thing is understanding similar morals and values is really important. It's like the #1 thing when you find a mentor is you want someone who understands kind of the same reason they're doing it. They kind of have good moral fabric. And I think the other thing too, and it's really important to me, is that you need to find someone who is still actively in the trenches doing the work.
Right.
And I think that, again, not going into it, but I didn't consider those 2 things when I first kind of got into the PT world, and I kind of kicked myself for it. But then moving into this job, and now how I develop new business relationships or mentorships is, I respected, you guys had good moral fabric, and I thought you guys were doing this for the right reasons. Like, I believe you choose people or profit at the baseline, and the other part is that I think that you guys still were working in the trenches every day seeing patients. So I was like, these are people that I want to learn from, because yes, you're doing the business stuff, but you still treat a ton of people per week. I think I found, unfortunately, people that go towards a mentor and it looks like it's going to work out, but then they're kind of in the ivory tower where they're like on the higher business level and they barely have ground level contact seeing patients in the dirt with everybody. And so that develops distance between the mentor and the mentee. And I think that there's some resentment that sometimes built there because they don't understand, like, yeah, like I understand you saying that, but like it's hard for us trying to treat all these people and do all this stuff. So that was a big factor in me choosing, you know, to try to come here.
Yeah, and a couple of tips based on what Dave said. I'd say, like, look, when you're looking at the clinic, you know, the more therapists, the better, probably, right? Especially if you have a lot of younger therapists that are your age, you know, in your group, and, you know, hungry. Look, as we get older and lives get busier and you start having kids and families and stuff like that, like we're running to, or I guess I am, nobody else is there yet with me, but like I'm running to softball practice after work, like, you know what I mean? It's not like back in the day we used to go to the library. They used to have these buildings with things you read in them, but
Dewey Decimal System.
We say, yeah, but like we used to run to the library and like do journal, like you know club stuff and everything. But so like look to try to find a wide group of people in one clinic. If you can't find that, another thing is the hospital-based setting. I think is quite good, especially if you have interactions with the surgeons, right? So the surgeons have rounds, they have, you know, educational sessions, especially if they have like sports medicine fellowships that are there. Those are pretty important and good ways to learn and kind of grow with mentors. So that's another amazing opportunity. So, all right, what if they get to a clinic and there is no mentorship there? What do they do? What do you think?
You got to start looking elsewhere, I guess.
Should I? I don't want to raise up my sibling.
Well, you kind of already. I almost like. I kind of almost say like, wow, you haven't trashed your old employers in a while. Good job, man. You know, you kind of, that was a passive aggressive.
No, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's not my employer's fault. I made the wrong decision.
Well, Mike, what do you think? Like, so you're at a clinic and there is no mentorship there. You probably talk to some of your classmates that are out there and exploring. Like, you know, what are they doing? You know,
Yeah.
what do you think they should do?
I think one of the more common things that I get from my like feedback I get from my classmates and my peers that kind of graduated with me is that they don't have any guidance in the clinic, and that's probably because they don't have a mentor at their clinic. So I tell them to reach out to people like you guys, and I've done that a few times for advice and maybe they're looking to get into a certain area for their job, if they're trying to get into sports or something like that, I have them start that connection with one of you guys. I've done that out with Mike a couple times, where I've had a classmate reach out, just introduced himself via email, and then he just met him at a conference the other day, and now they have that connection. So I think, yeah, you have to utilize your network to make connections with people that can help further your career outside
even
of the
if
clinic.
it's outside of the
clinic, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's I think it's okay if you reach out, if you know there's a clinic in another town or 30 minutes away from you, or there's like this really good expert clinician. Again, look, we only work 40 hours a week, right? Like, you got plenty of time to go volunteer for like 3 hours and just go, hey, can I shadow you for 3 hours? And man, what a great way to get respect and stuff like that. So you could do that. Or
yeah, I agree. I guess I'm kind of rehashing what everyone else has said, but that's what I did. So I'm greedy. I wanted to learn even more on top of where I was already at. Plus, there is a specific population I want to see, which is going to be more CrossFit. So I didn't know anyone in the area. I had just started working, so I started to go to different gyms, so CrossFit gyms, and I started to ask those coaches, who do you see from a physical therapy perspective? And I just had a few people just keep on popping up, and I went and I just, same exact thing, went, brought some coffee, hey, can I hang out with you? You know, and I really appreciate being able to do some shadowing. And they were always very open, and it worked out really well. I found my own mentors that way.
Yeah, if you approach it and kind of float their ego a little bit there, it's really hard to say no to that, right? Like, hey, I think you're awesome. Can I learn from you? I mean, or only a weird person is going to say no to that, right? So, I think that's a big kind of component of it. I mean, yeah, I think the last thing to talk about too is, online, and I think online is like getting there. If you can join a community of like-minded people online, and I know there's definitely ways to do it. Like, the three of us here, Dan, Dave, and myself, we all have like these inner circle groups that we run online, which are people that like want extra access to us, right? Like, we can't work with everybody, right? So like, we write articles, we do these things on social media, we try our best to like comment as much as we can, but look, it's hard to do on everybody. But then we have these private groups where you can join, and then look, you get more time for us. Like, every morning I log in and answer questions and try to interact and stuff like that, and I know these guys do too. So there's online groups out there that you can also interact with, and I think you should do them all. I think you should do everything we talked about, all of these approaches. Right? So awesome. So good. So great episode. I think that's a bunch of great tips on how to find a mentor, both in person and online. And I think we hit that kind of really from every angle, right? How to choose a place, how to find a place internally, how to look outside if you don't, and then maybe even to join some online stuff as well. And if you could join an online group with a couple of your coworkers, man, that's an even killer like combination, because now you're just talking about like, we're our own little online mentorship, we're our in-person mentorship here. We just talk all day. We're either talking about our latest article that came out, or a social media post that we usually disagreed with. We usually don't talk about the ones we agree with. We talk about the ones we disagree on. But we talk about it, and we're talking like all day about stuff. But I think when you're in a private group like that, like especially with social media, people are trying to like chirp and like get like a reaction out of you. When we talk about that, there's as much to learn from the negative posts as it is the positive posts when you can talk about it in a group. So definitely find that place. You're going to enjoy your profession better. You're going to enjoy your day-to-day better, and you're going to probably help your patients even better. So I definitely put that all together. So awesome question. Thanks so much for submitting that one. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that one. So if you have a similar question, head to MikeReinold.com, click on that podcast link. You can send us a question, anything you guys want to ask, go right ahead. We read them all, we still see them all, and hopefully we'll get to as many as we can. And head to iTunes, Spotify, rate and review, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.